I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. And now the Friday Crime Report. Paradise, Texas, Wednesday, November 30th, 2022. 7-year-old Athena Strand had gotten off her school bus at 4:15 p.m. She was going to her father's house. Athena was living with her father and stepmother. Her father at the time was out on a deer hunting trip, but the stepmother was home. After Athena had gotten home, the stepmother began to make dinner, but at some point she realized little Athena was no longer in the house. The stepmother searched for about an hour, then around 6:40 p.m. she called 911. The police immediately responded with search dogs along with EMS and volunteer firefighters. Some 200-some-odd people were ultimately involved in the search. They even used thermal imaging from a helicopter, but they didn't find anything. According to at least one of Athena's parents, the little girl had wandered off before, but it was never serious. She had always been found quickly in the past. They searched until 4:30 a.m. the next morning, but found nothing. They had to call the search off for the first night. Athena didn't come home either. The family made pleas on Facebook for anyone who had any information to come forward. The police then began questioning known sex offenders who lived in the area, but still nothing. The FBI, Texas Department of Public Service, that is the Texas Rangers, also assisted in the search. The FBI began utilizing digital resources, searching for things like cell phone data and social media posts. Investigators discovered that the Strand home had been scheduled for a FedEx delivery that day, and that the delivery was supposed to have been made around the time that Athena went missing. According to Athena's mother, the delivery was supposed to be You Can Be Anything Barbie dolls, a gift for Athena. Investigators learned that the driver of the FedEx truck that went to the Strand home worked for a contracting company delivering packages on behalf of FedEx. Investigators also learned that the FedEx truck was equipped with cameras that captured 1-minute clips. The FBI analyzed video taken from the truck and found that the driver was seen talking to the child in his van. He had taken the young girl. The driver turned out was 31-year-old Tanner Lynn Horner. Horner had worked as an Uber driver before working as a contractor for FedEx. Authorities took Horner into custody and questioned him. He soon confessed to having killed the child. According to the affidavit, Horner claimed that he'd accidentally struck the child with his work truck while he was backing up, but that she wasn't seriously injured. He then said that he'd spoken with the child and even told her his name. He said then he put her into the truck and abducted her, then strangled her to death. He claimed that the reason he did it was because he had panicked, because the child would tell her father that he'd accidentally hit her with his truck. Horner told authorities where they could find the child's body. He had dumped her 11 miles away from her home in the city of Boyd. Her remains were found along a country road, lying in shallow water. The sheriff said that it's believed Athena was killed within an hour of having been abducted from her home. When her body was taken to the medical examiner, she received an escort from the Texas Rangers. Horner has been charged with capital murder, aggravated kidnapping, and 3 counts of sexual assault. Those charges appear to be unrelated to the murder of Athena Strand. I'll explain that in a moment. Now, you would think that for somebody who has been charged with strangling a child, and the charges are set up in such a way as you would think that he sexually assaulted this kid, you would think that he was being held without bail, and of course, you would be wrong. He's been given bail at $1.5 million. Now, for somebody who admits to kidnapping and strangling a child to death, that he would receive bail at all would seem inconceivable, but when you have a legal system that's based on genetic immunity from the law, well, different rules apply. The authorities say that they're going to be seeking the death penalty against him. And as for Horner personally, just about everything about this guy says creep. He's a metalhead musician who on his Facebook account describes himself as Aspie, non-neurotypical, musician, metalhead. He also wrote on his profile, "Love is stupid and not to mention completely asinine." So a completely well-adjusted individual, as you can see. From the things that he posted on Facebook and on his Instagram, he clearly is a narcissist. He used to live in Fort Worth, though. A shame he didn't apply to their police department. He would fit right in. You know how the white media is always telling people that when you apply for a job, employers go on. They try to Google your name and see what's been said about you as part of the employment process these days, so you better be careful what you do online, etc. Well, of course, as it turns out, they seem to have missed this guy completely. In 2019, there was a woman who posted on her Facebook account that Tanner Horner is a rapist. That's what she actually put on her Facebook account. Friendly reminder that Tanner Horner is a rapist. That was almost exactly 3 years ago. But for all these employers who are looking through people's social media presences or going online Googling them to see what's been said, somehow this one got past them. I suppose for the contracting company and for FedEx, somebody posting online that Tanner Horner is a rapist wasn't explicit enough. And just in case you think that maybe this woman was talking about a different Tanner Hornsby, on December 2nd of this year, the same day that Athena's body was found, this woman posted another Facebook post, giving Tanner's full name and claimed that he had raped her 8 years ago when she was 16, and that this is the same person who just killed Athena Strand. Quote, I hope that everyone who didn't believe me when I've talked about this for 8 effing years does now. If this guy didn't have genetic immunity from law, he could have been arrested, charged, and put away years ago. He wouldn't have been able to go anywhere without being on the sexual offenders registry, and most likely this guy wouldn't have been driving for anyone, not Uber, not FedEx, no one. Athena's mother said that she planned to have the child cremated. The father is currently suing Tanner Horner, along with the contracting company that he worked for, Big Top Spin Inc. There's a generic throwaway name if I ever heard one. And of course, the father is also suing FedEx. According to Jacob Strand's lawsuit, FedEx was negligent for not thoroughly investigating Tanner's past, and the company has a track record of their drivers committing crimes across the U.S., from assault to rape to murder. And here you thought the worst thing FedEx drivers did was to accidentally lose your package. But there's another aspect of this case that also needs to be spoken on. Everything from the all-hands-on-deck response to the original 911 call to the prosecutor's charges against this man, seeking the death penalty and such, it's all part of the color-coded judicial system in America. Because had that child been black, there wouldn't have been the massive response from the authorities, and prosecutors would already be looking to cut a deal as soon as possible, assuming that they had brought any charges by now. I have a particularly difficult time believing that this Justice Department, in the incompetent hands of Merrick Garland, would have swooped down just ready to help if it was a black child who had been reported missing. What happened in the case of Athena Strand was an extraordinary response, but it shouldn't have been. It should be normal. Every child deserves the same level of attention and focus as Athena Strand got. And every person in the dominant society deserves the level of scrutiny that Tanner Horner didn't get. And I don't think it takes much imagination to figure out that the young woman who's accusing Horner of raping her when she was a teenager probably isn't the only criminal offense that he's committed. It's just the only one that's come to light. But the white media hasn't said anything about this case at all. A company like FedEx is not going to change their stripes simply because a child was killed by one of their contractors. The father's lawsuit may indeed get them to cough up some money, but what he wants is for them to change their ways, and that doesn't happen without pressure. But that pressure only comes when there's massive media attention, and the white media wants to sweep this under the rug. As the propaganda arm of white supremacy, the white media is not interested in saving lives. They're far more interested in saving face. What happened to Athena Strand shouldn't have happened at all. And it could well have been avoided entirely. That is, if this society didn't practice a system of color-coded justice. Instead of being some sort of turning point, instead this is going to be nothing more than just another data point on a societal chart of inaction. One has to wonder, how many more tragedies like this have to occur before the authorities, including the white media, finally decide that the price of their privilege is simply too high? And that's this week's Friday Crime Report. Keep your eyes open and stay on alert, because there's a lot worse criminals out there than the ones the white corporate media chooses to show you. Good day, and be one.